what we've got to realize as human beings is there are things that seem right to us, but aren't. You see, we think, we feel like that if God's the God He's supposed to be, and because we've lived this life that we're supposed to live, and we've been shaped the way we've been shaped, and the way we think and the way we go about doing life, we think that this just has to be right. I see this when I talk to non-believers all the time. And they bring up things that they think now, even though God says are wrong things to do. And we're going to be looking in the first chapter or two, we're going to be looking at things that the Bible just says straight out are wrong, that the world has accepted as being right. And I got to thinking about that this week because I broke my fast Friday after I finished teaching, after I finished my sermon, and we went to Brahms that night. I went to Brahms that night, and when I got up to the counter, and I go in there all the time, these guys know me. I'm surprised that when I walk in, they don't go, "Hi, Norm," or "Hi, Roll." You know what I'm saying? So I go in and I order my thing, and it comes to $4.50-something. And I opened up my my wallet, and I had two 20s. I wanted to give him something smaller. I took the 20 out, and I gave him the 20, and I'm sitting there and I'm talking, and one of the guys that I know works back there, and I'm yelling back and forth, and the guy gives me back, it was $4 and something. The guy gives me back $5 and something change. And I went, in a very nice, humble way, "Dude, I gave you a 20. He goes, "No, you gave me a 10. I said, "No, I know I gave you a 20. I'm sitting there holding my ice cream's melting down my hand, and my wife's is and I know I gave you a 20 because I was thinking even that I needed to give you something." He goes, "Sir, you gave me a 10. I punched it in the machine." So, he goes and he gets his manager, and he comes back, and the manager comes, and I go, "Hey, dude, I know I gave him a 20. I mean, I don't doubt." And by now I'm getting kind of embarrassed, and and the kid keeps going, "No, you gave me a 10, and that's right." And so the manager comes walking up, and he takes the till right out of the machine, and he takes it back to the back to balance it. So I'm sitting there thinking, well, he's going to come back, and this poor kid's going to be embarrassed and all this. And the guy comes back, and he goes, "No, you gave him a 10. I said, "What?" And then I got to thinking, in my mind, I thought that I was right. And I would have argued it. I mean, I would have argued it. There would have come a point where I'd have gone, "Well, okay, keep the 10 and be a nice guy." But I would have argued it because in my mind it seemed absolutely right. And the problem is I was looking at it from a point of view that I only had certain resources that I could use to decide what was right and what was wrong about that. But when the manager went off and he balanced that, the manager had resources that I didn't have. Now, as a human being, when we look at what God says and we think about what we think is right, we got to realize when we're trying to decide what's right and wrong, we don't have the resources that God has to decide. And I've sat there and talked to people before that have just gone on and on about them believing this is right, that it absolutely has to be right. And I point to the Bible, and they said, "Well, it doesn't matter." And I realized at Brahms the other night that God has resources that I don't have. And I don't know about you, but for me, somebody who believes the Word of God is the Word of God, it brings me so much more peace and so much more confidence and so much more contentment to know that sometimes, even though that doesn't seem right to me, I can trust that what God says is right.